Hey there guys, welcome back to another sling crafting tutorial. I'm going to show you guys how to make a sling just like this. It's 2 finger loops, basically a deconstructed 3-strand flat braid to a 3x2 6-strand flat braid. Woven pouch, 6-strand round braid, 5-strand round braid, 4-strand round braid, and 3-strand flat braid tapered release cord, all ending in 1 knot in the entire sling. Here's the materials you're going to need to do this sling. So what should we be starting off with? We should be starting off with, I've got 3 lengths of 325 paracord. They came in 21 foot lengths. This is planning to do a 24-inch sling. I don't know confidently if you could get up to 30 with these or not, but I know it'll do a 24, and 24 is usually what I build anyway, so we're going to go ahead and go with that. We're going to separate these guys out. We're going to find the middle of each section, and then we're going to start working them together. So let's go ahead and get them separated out and find the midpoint. So there's the midpoint. Got our 3 strands laying side by side. So let's go ahead and take this, just I don't know, a couple inches back here. Just tie like a little overhand knot on a bite, just so we can kind of keep one end tied up while we're working with the other end, like this, so we can pull that loop out when we're done. And what we're going to do is start doing a 3-strand braid, which is over from the right to the middle, left to the middle, right to the middle, left to the middle. And as you're doing this, remember to periodically untangle the ones you're braiding, because they're going to try to braid up on you and turn into a nest, and you don't want that. So just keep doing that. And do that for about an inch. Make sure you keep your braid nice and tight too. As I'm going, I'll fold it to the middle and then pull tight, and fold to the middle and pull tight. You'll get the hang of this as you get going. You just do that for about an inch, which is about where we're at right now. All right, now what we're going to do is we've got a black and 2 blues. I'm going to put the 2 blues together and have 1 black separate. So now let's take the 2 blues, and we're going to just start twisting them like this. Just twisting. So you can see what it's starting to do here. We're ultimately going to be folding this back over itself and making a loop out of it. So we're going to need a little bit of length. You're going to have to play with this because it's going to take some practice, a little experimentation to figure out what size you need your finger loop to be the most comfortable for you. But let's go about that long and see how that feels. So what I'm going to do is take those 2 twisted strands, take them down here to the bottom where we started that 3-strand braid, and kind of pinch them there like that. This is going to tell us what our finger loop feels like, what it's actually going to be sized like. And then take your loose strand and get it about the same length, and do the same with it. As you can see, this ends up working out all right. We're going to end up braiding these guys together here. So now it was this finger loop, because I don't want it to be sized for me. I want it to be kind of a universal, just in case somebody else is going to get this sling. So I want everybody, whoever that might be, whoever's going to get it, to have a chance to have this fit their hand. Okay, so we've got that where we want it. Pinch that down. We're going to pull the bite out of that loop. Oops, I tied the wrong kind of knot. It's okay. I didn't tie this very tight. So we're going to pull this out. There we go. So we've got our loop. Now, if you've twisted this up and you curl it over and it starts trying to twist up, like bunch up like this, just take a couple of those twists out. In this case, it's not doing that to us, so we'll be all right. Now, I'm not going to lie, guys, this particular kind of sling, the first time I built one, it was kind of tricky because there's a lot of steps kind of in certain spots that require a little bit of patience to get everything just where you need it to be. But as you can see, what I've done here is I've grouped up by colors to make it easier to tell what we're doing. We're going to do the two light blues together, the two blacks together, and the two darks together, dark blues. That way, as we go along, we can keep track of what we're doing and make it easier for you guys to see what's going on. So we're going to do the same thing we did with that 3-strand braid here, only now we've got 2 strands for each one. So we're going to go right to middle, left to middle, right to middle, left to middle. I call this a 3x2 flat braid because it's a 3-strand braid held double. But just like we did with that first little section, make sure that as you're going, you're pulling that braid tight. And it's going to end up looking like that as we go along. Go ahead and do that. This is going to be a 24-inch sling. So from the end of our finger loops down to where we're going to be starting with the pouch, we want that to be 21 inches. It'll be 24 when you fold it in half, minus half of a 6-inch pouch, which is 3 inches, is going to give us 21 inches. So get out to 21 inches. I'll see you when you get there. As a additional note, remember, just like in other sling making tutorials, as you're doing these with this paracord, you could be using any size of paracord, 550, 325 like we're doing here. You can be using natural fibers. You can do this with any kind of a cord. Anyways, as you're doing this, especially with paracord though, you want to stretch this as you're going along, because otherwise when you get to that 21-inch mark and you stretch it out, it might end up being like 22, 23 inches. So you want to make sure as you're going along, stretch your material out. All right, so here we got all the way out to 21 inches. Now, for this one, because I've got 3 different colors of paracord that I'm working with, I want to do one side of the pouch in black and one side in the dark blue. So what I'm going to do is make sure that those strands are on the outside. Okay, and we're going to split this into 3s, like this. We're going to start with the right side here. We're going to weave this pouch now. So we go with this outside strand over, under, and then on the next side of the pouch, on the left side, we're going to go over the first one on that, and then back over. So we go under the first one on the left side of the pouch, over and under on the outside of the right side of the pouch. Pull it tight, bunch everything up. Okay. I'll set that right side strand off to the side. Now let's go over to the left side. Do the same thing. Over, under, over the first one on the right side of the pouch, and back around. And then under that first one on that side of the pouch, over and under to the outside of the left side of the pouch again. And make sure we get that all bunched up and tight. Now this, like I said, guys, this type of sling is not for the faint of heart. This is going to be a little bit tricky, a little bit fiddly. Keep all these strands straight and remember where each one's supposed to go. But let's do that again. Starting on the right side, we go over, under, over. loop back around, head back to the right, going under, over, under. Bunch it up. Right side or left side again. Over, under, over. Then under, going back to the left, over, under. And slide it down. Get it tight. Okay, so now we've reinforced this guy. At the end, the two sides of the pouch now should lay side by side pretty well. So let's set the left side aside, not mess with it for a little bit. We're going to focus on the right side now. And we're just going to weave that right side. So over, under, and back to the right. Over, under. So you're just worrying about the right side right now. You're doing just a really simple weave, and as you go, pull them down tight. You're going to do that so that from the start of your pouch to the end of your pouch, you're right about 6 inches. Do this one side, and then do the other side. And when we get to the end where we've done these both at, let's say about 5.5 inches long or so, then we're going to reinforce the pouch again in reverse. I'll show you that when we get there. Okay, so here we go. I've kept these weaves nice and tight. I've pulled this sling straight to make sure that everything is the same length. So now, like I said, we're going to be doing this reinforcement technique in reverse. Let's start with the right side. We go over, under, over. See? So over, under, over. Go under, over, under, back to the right. Squish it down. Now we do the same with the left side. Over, under, over. Then back to under, over, under. Pull off the side, pull everything down tight. Like I said, getting this reinforcement technique can be a little fiddly, but it does make a nicer sling. We go one more time from the right side. Over, under, over. Under, over, under. Off to the right. Bunch it down. Back on the left side here. Over, under, over. Then going back, under, over, under. Okay, so that is now reinforced. Let's bring those guys back around to where the outside strands that we're working with here are back in the center. So I'm going to start with the left just because that's what I have handy at the moment. Over, under, and leave it in the middle. Do the right side. Over, under, leave it in the middle. Make sure that the reinforcement weave is nice and tight, bunched up. Okay. Let me get my strands straightened out here again. Okay. Now, what we're going to be doing is a 6-strand round braid. And for that, we need to take groups of 3. So I'm going to cross these guys over, put that where you can see it. The 2 strands in the middle that we were working with, I'm going to cross them over. So we have 2 groups of 3. Make sure everything's tight. Now, let's start with the right side, I guess. Doesn't really matter. You can do left or right, doesn't matter. Take the outside strand, wrap it around the back of all 6 of your strands, and then we're going to do a weave. Over, under, over, and down to the middle. And we do the same thing with the left side. The outside strand goes around the back, over to the right, over, under, over, to the middle, and bunch it up tight. Make sure you keep your strands laying side by side. We don't want them, see how that one was trying to twist over to the outside? We don't want that. We want to make sure it stays there. So we just did the left, now we do the right side again, around the back, to the left side, over, under, oops, over, under, over, back to the middle, pull it tight, and then do the left side again. Left side, outside strand, goes around the back, over, under, over, to the middle, pull it tight. So what we'll be doing is a 6-strand round to a 5-strand round to a 4-strand round to a 3-strand flat. So we've got 4 different lengths or 4 different sections we're going to be working with. We need to go 21 inches. So I'm going to say let's go ahead and drop every 5 inches. We're going to drop a strand. So go ahead and do 5 inches of your 6-strand round. I just showed you how to do. And when we get to the 5-strand, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so here I've done a 6-strand round braid all the way down to 5 inches. Now I'm going to drop because I am running short on material here, right? So one of the shorter strands that made up the pouch, because those used up a lot more material, I want to drop one of those guys. And it just happens to be that one of those is at the top right now. So I'm going to drop that guy. And now we're going to switch to a 5-strand round braid. To do that, so we've got 5 here. Let's start on the right. We're going to go under 3 and over 2 to the right and pull it tight. Now we do the right and our left side. Go around the back, under 3, over 2, going back to the left. Left side goes around the back, under 3 of them, back to the right, over 2. Left side, around the back, under 3, back to the left, going over 2. Now go ahead and do that for another 5 inches. Okay, so here we go. We got 5 inches of 5-strand round. Now we're going to find the shortest of the strands again, which is the other half of our pouch, which is this black strand here. I'm going to pull this guy aside. We're going to drop that, and now we're going to do a 4-strand round, which is start with the high one on the right, because it's the highest one in the group here, around the back, going under 2, over 1. Do the same with the left side, under 2, over 1. Make sure you keep pulling it tight. Going back to the right side, under 2, over 1, left side, under 2, over 1. Do that one for 5 inches. Okay, so now we've got 5 inches of 4-strand round. We're going to drop one of these strands just so that I can keep the same color going all the way through. I don't end up with an extra light blue end on this guy. We're going to drop this light blue here, the one that's at the top. And then we're going to go back to a 3-strand flat. Just left to the middle, right to the middle, left to the middle, right to the middle. Now do that for a few inches until we get to where from the start of our pouch, or the end, as the case may be, to here is roughly 21 inches. And then we're going to go ahead and tie a knot for our finger loop and balance this out. But go ahead and finish out your 3-strand braid, and I'll see you when we get to that knot. Okay, so I've done some 3-strand round here, or 3-strand flat rather. I've grabbed it and pinched it, and I'm checking to make sure that the length is about right, which we're about at that spot right now. So now we're going to do a crown and diamond knot. I've done this in other tutorials, but I try not to assume that you've seen other tutorials, so I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Oops, get my light. Okay, so to grab one of your strands, kind of fan them out like this, one in each direction. Pick one of them and tie a loop, or not tie a loop, but make a loop like this, and go over the next one. Then take the next one and go over that one. And then take this last one and go through your first loop. Okay? Just like that. Okay, so that's what you should end up with it looking like once you've made your first 3 loops. Getting it to lay is kind of tricky, but it should look something like that. 3 loops. So now we're going to take our first strand, which went under this loop here. We're going to go through, which under the blue one here, to the middle. Okay. Let's set that off to the side. Take our next strand, the light blue one. It went over the dark blue the first time. We're going to go under the black, through the black loop here, out through the middle. Set that off to the side. So now that we've gotten that set up to where it's even, balanced, we found a nice point for our knot. We're going to tie a crown and diamond knot. Now, I've shown that in my other videos, so my go-to, because some of those stopper knots can be a little tricky. I find this one works pretty easily. It's pretty easy to do. But really, any stopper knot would work here, however you want to do it. Anything that can incorporate 3 strands. But we're going to do a crown and diamond knot. So fan out the 3 strands we've got here. Make a loop with one. And go over the one to the right. Take that black one, in this case. Go over the next one, like that. And this one goes over that black one and through the loop the first one made. And we should end up with this. So we got our 3 loops. We did the first through. Now you see how we've got this little triangle here in the middle? That's what we want to pass our strands through. Start with our blue one, dark blue. It's going to be down through this black loop, so let's go around and up through the light blue. Like that. Take the light blue, which is going down through the dark blue. Find the end of it. Go up through the black out the top. And finally the black. Find the end of this guy. Went down through the yellow, or not yellow, I'm sorry, light blue. Don't know what my brain is thinking. Come out through the top. And we're going to lightly tuck these guys down a little bit. As we see here, all three of our strands come out through the center of the knot here. So we're going to go ahead and just slightly tug on each one just a little bit. Okay, to where it's mostly set. Let's grab both sides, give it a yank. And then really set those guys down. There we go. Finger loop is done. And that is the one knot in this whole sling. Do a quick test here. Check, make sure the length still looks good, which it does. So now, let's go through first. Take these loose ends that are floating around that we dropped off. Let's go ahead and trim those, melt them down, get a nice glob of glue on, or glob of paracord on there. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'd say snip it back about that far or so. Grab your lighter. The bigger of a glob of melted paracord we can get on there, the less likely this is going to be to pull through. You don't want it to pull through. And if we get a nice big glob on there, it will tend to kind of, that liquid paracord will kind of melt into the other cords and kind of help keep it from wanting to pull out. Like that. Go ahead and do that for all the rest of those loose strands. And when we get to the end, I'll show you how to make this thing really loud with a really nice long tassel. Okay, there we go. Clean up all the loose ends. Time to make our tassel. If we want this thing to be nice and loud, and I mean, it's pretty loud. Let's go 6 fingers from our knot. Find the end here. And just snip all 3 of them off even with that. Just like that. Save those extra sections of paracord because you're going to need them here in a minute. Go ahead and give these guys a little bit of help. Start unraveling them a little bit. Just kind of take them, twist them in between your fingers. Get those cords to start kind of fraying open a little bit. And on my sling that I made that's just like this my sling that I made last weekend that's just like this one, I made my tassels about a third of that. So say 2 fingers worth. And it's really loud. I don't think that these have to be frayed out all the way, but I would say just take them out maybe an inch, inch and a half, and that would give this thing a nice crack. I'm going to have a sound sample here. After I get this thing made, I'm going to take it out and test it for you guys and show you what it sounds like. But there's that. We got our tassel started. It'll start to kind of open up a little bit more as we use it. Now it's time to put in a cross brace so that your tennis ball doesn't fall through the middle. I'm going to go ahead and get myself a piece of paracord ready to go and show you what that does. So I cut myself a 12-inch piece of one of my scraps that I had left over. We're going to put a smile in this sling. Now, I did not come up with this idea. This is Channing from Practical Paracord that had this idea, and I use this idea in my slings because I like the way it works. So definitely go check out Channing at Practical Paracord. He makes slings and sells them online. We're going to go ahead and make a quick little overhand knot close to the end of our scrap piece, like that. Just a little overhand knot. take your pouch. First, grab your sling and find out what way it lays most comfortably. I'm going to say that I'm going to put this one on my middle finger and this one on my ring finger, which means that this flat braid is going to lay naturally like this. This would be the inside of the pouch, this would be the outside. So we want to make sure that we start from the outside of the pouch. We're going to flip it over. Find a spot roughly 1/3 from the end. So right about here. This can be a little tricky to do once you get all that weave super duper tight. I'm going to grab my paracord fib real quick. I'll be right back. Now, a fib is not necessary, but it can be a useful tool. You can use absolutely anything, just to kind of spread that open a little bit, get yourself some space. We're going to take that piece of paracord, feed it through that hole we just made. It can be tricky to get that in there, so if you got to use your needle, your pencil, your pen, whatever you're using to push that piece of cord through there, that's totally fine to do. Get it started. Pull it through. Pull it up to that knot. Now, we'll flip it over to the inside of the pouch. I'm going to go across to roughly the 1/3 mark from the other side of the pouch, right about here. Spread our weave. And you can see how difficult of a time I'm having getting this in there. It's because that weave needs to be really, really tight on your pouch. Otherwise, when you sling, it'll start pulling away on the finger loop side and bunching up on the release side. So we want to make sure that's nice and tight. Got the hole. Take my end of my paracord, force it through. All right, like that. Okay, now we're going to flip it over again to the outside of the pouch. Come across from that first knot and go back through. Okay, like that. Flip it back over, looking at the inside of the pouch again. And you see, when you go here, across from that other side, poke a hole. Man, this weave is tight. And force that paracord through there again. One last time. So there we have a cross piece, which ends up looking like a smiley face. Less smile for smiling sling, and that's what Channing does. Like I said, that's his idea, not mine. And definitely you should check his stuff out. So now we want to make sure that this doesn't spread too far apart. We want to give ourselves a little bit of room. We want to make sure it's nice and even too. Let's go ahead and take this guy, pull it out a little bit, tie an overhand knot. So you see how this is kind of puckered a little bit? Just keep adjusting that knot until you get it where it's lays flat. And there we go. So got this thing adjusted out. As you can see, 12 inches worth of this extra material. I've only got about 3/4 of an inch over here and about an inch on this side, so that's about perfect. So to finish that out, all you would do is just trim off the ends, obviously, and melt it down. But there you have it, guys. This is the completed tutorial sling this week. Like I said, there's going to be a sound test for this guy at the end of the video or at the beginning. I'm not sure how I'm going to edit it, but there it is. So this sling like all of my other tutorial slings, is going to be up for giveaway. And since I didn't get comments for the red one that I did last time, we're going to have a double giveaway. If you want one of these slings, you won't say that you have to do the hashtag part of this thing. Just say, you know, Team Red or Team Blue. If you want to comment that down below on whichever color you would like to get. If you want to get one of these slings, then just go ahead and comment Team Red or Team Blue down below. But anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope it was helpful and informative. I do other tutorials. You might check out my other ones, but I'm going to be keeping on with these sling making tutorials, try to give you guys inspiration for new techniques and new ideas. You might consider liking and subscribing, checking out the other stuff I got on my channel, and check back regularly because I'm trying to put out weekly content, and I want to do at least weekly or at least monthly sling giveaways. So anyways, guys, appreciate you watching. Keep on slinging and be safe out there. Is it scary, buddy?